frightened of dying and you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. If you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels, freeing you from the earth.
This video is going to be dark, may be disturbing to some viewers. The only thing that burns in hell is a part of you that won't let go of life. Your memories, your attachments. They burn them all away. They're not punishing you, he said. They're freeing you from the earth. So if you're frightened of dying, and you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. If you made your peace, then the devils are really angels, freeing you from the earth. It's just a matter of how you look at it. That's all. So don't worry. Okay? I recommend that you watch the movie Jacob's Ladder. It's dark and a cult classic and has some messages about understanding oneself with life and death. This is something that not many people I know have talked about yet here and in the real world, and I understand that it reminds them of their own mortality. I have not made a video in a while, and thanks to Immortal recently mentioning my channel, I saw my subscribers list grow. The last few days I've been very depressed due to some permanent health problems affecting my life and my ability to function today. It may cause problems for me for the future, and add more stress with interacting with the offline world. There are times where I have to fight to live and fight the system to live well, and get non-mainstream medical nutrition-based supplements and medications that have helped me in the past, but can only be purchased without insurance and at cost. Also, the recent heat wave that's hitting California is not helping in trying to stay cool. Suicide and death, what is it? What happens after death? Death is often described as the termination of all biological functions that sustain a living organism. Can someone be alive and dead at the same time? What's the biblical reference between Jacob's Ladder? Most Abrahamic religions depict Jacob's Ladders as the staircase to heaven, and is described in the book of Genesis as the bridge between God and the earth. Some people should know I'm someone that has attempted suicide several times and still have thoughts about it, and have experienced a biological death for several moments. The small amount of people I know outside of YouTube do not want to hear me talk about this, and when I visit the doctors, they get nervous around me when they read my chart or when I try to talk to them. This is a very personal situation. However, I think it's important for me to share some of these experiences and ideas here, since it's a unique story, and it may help me by making this video to clarify about some of the thoughts I have that I have internalized for years, and help me process some of these experiences. It may also help someone else. Let's start off with suicide attempt 1. I just got my first diagnosis of one chronic incurable health issue, type 1 diabetes, at childhood around 4 years old, and requires painful at-home treatments at every meal and sleep and wake cycle. My father was the one that would give me the treatments and injections on spots in my body that I could not reach sometimes. The injection site has to be moved around the body to prevent types of damage. Did not want to deal with this at the time. I was just a child. At the time, I was able to do the injections at home myself. I soon stopped the medications and treatments and lied and hid the fact that I was not taking care of my diabetes to my parents. It is easy. It took almost no pre-planning or no thought. I just thought that came to me, no more, I can't take it anymore, and stopped checking my blood sugar and insulin injections. After a week, I was unconscious and did not see anything special, but was in a deep sleep-like state and was awakened in the hospital a few days later, since the doctor said I was out a few days. The doctors brought me back, but I was still suffering in silence. Why is there no cure, just the management and the hard work to take care of this disease, and I'm just a kid? Am I at the point where it can't be reversed? I have no appetite, no love for anything in this world, and lied to the doctor also and did not tell him that I did not follow the proper treatment protocols and plans. And the doctor's conclusion was that the medication needed to be changed. I need to keep a closer track of my blood sugar, and my parents need to make sure that I was taking care of it and take a more active role. Well, my parents did try. They sent me to a camp with kids with diabetes. I was now on my own again, but now I had strangers telling me how to treat diabetes and forcing me to eat and come up with a bunch of different plans for me. Also, while I was trying to fit in with a bunch of other new kids around my age, you would think that would be easy since everyone there had diabetes. But most only had diabetes to worry about. If you looked at the group there, you could tell I was one of the sickly ones there. The camp was good, and I was able to find some friends and the counselors and some of the other kids there. However, it was embarrassing at times, since this was an outdoor camp in the mountains, and often sports and physical activity was difficult for me, and most of the time I had to drive to the hiking destination with the camp staff that brought the food and activity material for the kids at the end of the hike. Also, it was embarrassing since I was one of the kids with the more visibly obvious health problems. Having female staff and kids there act unprofessionally. Going to see the nurse and the nutritionist was awful at times since it was female staff. We all had to do some of these group activities, but some were voluntary. I spent a lot of time in the craft hall working in the photography lab, and of course now we get to the similar perception of most gynocentric environments. Even there, where all of us had diabetes and health problems, it was there. It was like high school, and if the male kids did not like the stereotypical male activities, could not even participate if they wanted to, was looked down upon, was outcasted. If they liked the craft hall activities, photography was not the only one there. They also had activities there that were catered to the stereotypical female type activities like sewing and collecting things from the forest. You saw the double standard treatment by peers and the establishment of a high school type social hierarchy. The girls my age there flocked to the stereotypical alpha males. It did not really talk to me, and there was no attempt to even to relate on the level of diabetes with some people there that perceived a low social status for certain people. A good thing is they separated part of the camp between the boys and the girls, so we had our own areas, and sometimes I could escape to an area that was male only. Went to this camp for several years and each summer, but still had bad and good days where I wanted to die still, and this uncontrollable health problems did not help, and often I had to internalize any emotional or physical pain or problems and somehow made it through the days since they could not help me enough. Now at home, everyone thought the problem was taken care of, but I told one of my doctors I was depressed, and that message came back to my parents. I was sent to other doctors here and there, and was given counseling, antidepressants, antipsychotics, and all sort of different mind-altering medications. The counseling and therapy I found was a waste of time, and it did not help. The male therapist I saw was nice to me, and we had similar interests in science fiction, but he could not understand my situation, and I was also afraid to tell him how bad I felt and how tired I was with the struggle with life and medical conditions. These new mind-altering medications just made me more lethargic and I did not want to do anything still, and had another even a more low appetite, and had to force myself to eat sometimes. And sometimes I didn't even eat at all. I still have days where I wanted to die, and they were more often. It also made me see strange things. It's hard to describe, but I could see colors on my mind, and other stuff like black spots on people's bodies. I still internalized everything because I was forced to, and did not have the help I needed, and had mild mood swings of anger and depression. Spent a lot of time with the goth kids at school and other disabled kids at school, and why bother with anything anymore if life was going to be like this? I was introduced to alcohol and started to mix my pills with alcohol and try to numb the pain away. I did not have an angel of mercy to take care of me or adjust my situation, or even at least release me from this broken body, or even try to fix one of its cracks. So I just decided to distract my mind with drugs and alcohol. I was mad at God and declared this life is unfair, and I can't take it anymore, and to allow me to leave this world in peace somehow, even if I thought I can't stand it anymore, but I always did. Well, I have to give in this life a never-ending story of disappointment, and how do I endure this journey, and when is my time to rest? I lost all hope and just look forward to embracing the pain and emotions as a reminder that I'm still alive. Now let's get into suicide attempt 2. I was not so lucky again. I was back at the hospital with a new experimental drug they wanted to test. I thought it was good, and it showed promise in other patients. They said I should start detoxing slowly off the antidepressants and psychotics for the test. I thought finally I can gain weight and muscle mass and fit in with the other guys, and not be classified as the sickly, mentally challenged person anymore. The effect of detoxing from the antidepressants and psychotics was not fun. I had some withdrawal symptoms, and I just wanted to stay in bed all day. Soon I traveled to the research hospital to start the experimental medication, and it was an awful experience. You had to swallow the drug as a liquid, and it had an awful taste, and there was no immediate changes, and my body had to absorb the new drug. I was sent home to continue the dosages of the new drug and to return to the research hospital every several months. After about a year later, I was in bad shape, and it was time for the follow-up of the experiment. I could barely make it to the car, and at the airport I was treated awfully and finally given a wheelchair. I again had repeating thoughts of suicide and death. It just seemed unfair that all this was happening to me, and there's nothing I could do to fix it besides have these doctors work on me. At home, I did not know at the time, but a doctor in the past has asked my parents to start planning for the worst and to may not survive, and if I did, I may have a reduced life expectancy and poor quality of life. And little did I know, I already had a grave site and a funeral service already reserved for me. This would be important now. Back at the hospital, I was given the last dose of the experimental drug and clinically died a few minutes later. I was in a deep level sleep again, and someone at the hospital was writing up a temporary death certificate. But I guess it was not my time to move on yet, since I was rudely awakened to see a team of doctors working around me. I felt tired and just wanted to go back to sleep, but it was not over. It was time to take blood and tissue samples to see the effects. What is this new feeling? Was it the drugs, or was it me? I could not feel at all. I could not feel my legs. Nerve damage had taken place, and I watched them work and poke them with instruments. The release was released from that medical hell to face new medical hells, and was now in worse condition than the start of the test. Now needed to start another recovery. Recovery, what a word, and how easy is that to say to someone else? How much internal strength is required? I started to draw an attraction to the pain and looked forward to the female nurses and staff to stick with needles and instruments and the attention. I lost the ability to walk normally and the ability to feel my feet, my legs, my hands. I was put in casts to stretch muscles that had atrophied. Did not feel human at all, and it soon, after I got through all of that, it was time to go back home and continue more recovery treatments. I had to walk with a cane. The airport made a big deal about the cane, and I had a difficult time traveling. After a few months still working on recovery, when it was time to see my grandparents for a family reunion, and I wanted to die every day. I thought how to do it and even imagined it in my mind what it would look like, and I ate and did less as possible. If it was not for music and some media, I may not be talking to you today. I did not want to go on the family reunion trip with traveling and dealing with my health problems and a cane in a new place. Somehow, though, my grandparents, my mother, guilt-tripped me to go, and who would understand more other than family, and it would be good. Wrong. I was told to man up of sorts by my father. Oh, your grandma is old and she has to deal with pain and she doesn't complain. Okay, I know she's old and she doesn't have a pre-existing health condition. It does not need a medical device to maintain the functioning of her body, or can even move around without assistance. And she's had many years of life without medical problems. I'm not even close to 70, and I have only experienced 1 to 5 years of medical problem-free life, and now I'm at a young adult life stage, and a world of medical problems is the only life I've ever known. If my family was going to support me, not going to support me and give me messages like that, why even bother spending time around them? Apathy, depression, sadness, loneliness hit me hard, and I didn't have anyone to talk to. No one is going to help me with the situation. They think it's all good. I went back to the prescription drugs and alcohol and tried to spend as much time as I could at my friend's house, who also had health problems, so that was not an issue there. I had bouts of anger and would lash out at my parents and wanted to escape them and not have to rely on them. Somehow I started working through the pain and relearning parts of myself, working and collecting money to have a place of my own, and not until one of my younger brothers started medical school and my other brother went to college and came back with a mental health problem, another part of my family going into medical school, did my parents start to relate and even address some of these problems I had to fight alone in my youth, but it was little too late. As they helped my brother, they seemed to do a better job and spend more time with him, as his condition is not as rare occurring as mine. Also, they discovered that mental illness runs in the family, as they spent time more researching his problem. I have faced so much trauma and so much pain, and still face it every day, and often seek death as a release and ask myself, what would happen if I died? So I no longer have to live this way in a world where doctors do not help, they manage and treat. All these experiences grew an unconscious and conscious feeling the need to find peace through spirituality. Soon after, I recovered as much as I could from the experimental drugs and returned to spending time in the world of the living. I tried to seek peace through the religion I was brought up with in youth, and try to join in, but it was not for me. It often came to organized religion as with money, status, and a large group of people there that it was hard to relate to people. So I did home study and found the story of Jacob's Ladder again. I started to reconnect my spirit and humanity and praying to allow me to forget some of the experiences and trauma and improve my outlook. However, it was not enough, and soon I moved to meditation, and I could feel temporary peace during meditation experiences. Was all the pain and suffering a tool to get me to the point where I am at now? And was it the devil's tearing away parts I don't need? For I think I would not be the same person without these experiences. In the Jewish perception of Jacob's ladder, people will suffer before the coming and introduction of the Messiah, so they know the difference between the ability of God and the capability of their own personal development. Somehow I keep going in their tests to reach a higher and higher level, and I want to reach a new horizon, but do I step in the wrong direction at times? Probably. In my quest for spirituality and peace, I still often have regular segments of depression, though, and thoughts of giving up and dropping off the ladder, aka suicide, but this quickly disappears as I enter my safe space in meditation when I don't think I can handle living in this state anymore and think death is the only way out, but is it for some? However, the damage can also hide and become an emotional pain that eats at your soul and kills you slowly. It's that dull feeling of loss that I cannot reverse these medical problems. People are in society are not likely to even recognize that there's a problem, and it's not likely doctors will research and find ways to reverse these. Only if there's some profit to be made, they will. I can handle one of them, but 3 is too much at times. Where's my pat on my back, my recognition about how much internal strength I had by others that I have survived these experiences, and even with these setbacks, I've found myself to be able to live by myself, start a career, and go my own way without involving myself in the so-called mainstream activity. When will my work be done? I often find it hard to sympathize when I listen to some others talking about their problems. A lot of them appear so small, especially when I hear my friend and others complain about their relationship and domestic problems with women. I find a lot of people try to belittle my experiences with death and my internal strength that I survived these experiences with, and can't even comprehend what can happen to them. So let us all find peace and understanding here and prepare ourselves for the challenges we face. For some, the challenge will be greater than others.